We can go ahead and lead.
Okay. Morning, everybody. Welcome to our fourth Blitzscaling Circle, our bi-weekly initiative organized in conjunction with our ScaleUp Endeavor program. Our ScaleUp program is designed to guide entrepreneurs through the complexities of business process building, structural placement, and refining the business focus, aimed at supercharging the growth of late-stage startup entrepreneurs. Some of our previous sessions include speakers such as Chris Ye, the co-author of Blitzscaling himself, and Malaysia's first tech unicorn, Eric Cheng, co-founder and Group CEO of Kasem, Indonesia's most inspiring franchise leader, Andy Setiono, founder and CEO of Baba Rafi Enterprise, and Philippines' fastest growing social media app, Roland Ross, who's CEO of Kumu. If any of you missed out these sessions, please feel free to check out our recording on our YouTube page. Now, for today's session, we have Endeavor entrepreneur from Indonesia, the founder and CEO of Indonesia's fastest growing SME-focused solutions provider, Mr. Krishnan Menon, founder and CEO of BukuKas.
Hi, everyone.
BukuKas is a startup focused on digitizing Indonesia's small business, which recently raised $50 million in Series B funding. Since their launch of the digital bookkeeping app in December 2019, they have added new features, including online payments and an e-commerce platform. BukuKas today has onboarded over 6.3 million businesses so far and have a total of 3 million monthly active users. They have an annualized bookkeeping transaction volume of $25.9 billion, or the equivalent of about 2.2% of Indonesia's GDP. Good stuff, Krishnan. So today, as we unpack Krishnan's scaling strategy for this session, which is, I think you'll hear from our esteemed panel today, which is being led by none other than Dato' Sharil Tarmizi, which is Senior Advisor of ASEAN Advisory and also part of our ScaleUp Steering Committee. I'm going to pass the floor to you, Dato' Sharil, to moderate the session. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending. Sharil, floor.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Adeline. And hi, everyone. For those of you who have not met me, my name is Sharil. I'm one of the Endeavor entrepreneurs in Malaysia. Sorry. I'm one of the Endeavor mentors in Malaysia, not entrepreneur. I wish I was. But yeah, so we have an interesting session for those Malaysians on the call. Selamat Hari Malaysia, 1957. So thank you very much, Adeline, and I'll go straight into the conversation. Krishnan, thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
So you've had a busy day, busy morning, and an even busier rest of the day coming. Perhaps before we start into the Blitzscaling conversation, could you tell us a little bit about yourself? I mean, you obviously have an interesting journey so far. I mean, you're young, but you've moved from India, you've gone to Singapore, you've gone to Indonesia, you've started a couple of things. So could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, super. So I'm from Kerala, actually, south of India. Actually, I grew up there. Actually, all my life. I grew up there all my life. I studied chemistry in the middle of nowhere in Rajasthan. But it was a very nice place because you never had attendance in classes, so you never had to attend classes, and hence you could just do whatever you want. So at that point, I was dabbling between two things: either becoming a professional poker player, but I didn't have the money for it anyways, but I was trying. And the other was entrepreneurship. So I actually started my first venture while in college, so that's sort of where I started. I also did India's first food delivery startup. This is 2010, 2011. People were on Nokia and 72s. Actually, I didn't start it. I joined as the third guy. We were only 3 people, so it's basically 3 of us. Yeah, so it was very early. It clearly didn't work. Fresh out of college, and also, yeah, I mean, we didn't know what VC was. We didn't know anything. We just didn't want to work in random companies. So yeah, that's how I started. I ended up in Indonesia to do Lazada. Was one of the earlier guys. That was 2013. These are days when literally I remember, people say, who's going to buy a shoe online? That's never going to happen. Maybe a phone, okay, but shoe never. Right? Like today, fashion is the largest category for Shopee. Right? So nice evolution that I've been very fortunate to see firsthand. Later, I was with the payment startup, Freecharge. Again, my story is full of serendipity. It's a very funny story. I wanted to do the free charge model. I quit Lazada for that. And then I sort of decided, I mean, I couldn't because student loans and all this kind of stuff. So I was like, okay, I'll take up a job in Singapore. Super boring it was. And then at the time, I just cold mailed the founders and told them, I was on LinkedIn. I told them you should open Indonesia. Here's the research. Da, da, da. 2 days I got a reply, can you come do it for us? A question mark. So suddenly I was with those guys. Sequoia was interviewing me. So that's when my relation with Sequoia started very, very back then. They interviewed me, and this is, we are talking about pre-Gojek, pre-Tokopedia, right? Like this is very early days of Southeast Asia. And yeah, so then I was with Free Charge. Then we exited that business. Then along with my co-founder, ex-co-founder Christian, who was friends with for a long time, we started Fabio. Then a point came where I decided to move on to start BukuKas. So honestly, looking back, it all kind of makes sense. I mean, but it's a story of serendipity. I've really met a bunch of really cool people through the years, yeah, and done stuff with them.
I just wanted to just touch on that little start of your journey. Quite interesting. Well, some would argue that being a startup entrepreneur is a bit like playing poker. You don't know what you're going to win. But let me just ask you. So you started as a chemistry graduate, right? And then school was, I suppose, you pioneered the homeschooling and home learning because you didn't go to school.
Yeah.
Now
we were still living in the university. You just didn't have to attend classes. So you basically stay in the hostel all day and sort of decide. So you're not home at all, but yeah.
And by the time you hit Fabio, which is the one just before this current startup, you had already tried and exited, or even, dare I say, failed in about what, 5 entrepreneurs?
Yeah, quite a few. So while in college itself, like my dad used to give me 3,000 rupees every semester to go on your semester trips, basically. So one of the times I just decided not to do that, and I started a food outlet inside college. And I actually 101 lesson for entrepreneurship. I was 17, and I. So every day after, when everybody stops studying, like this is at 5 p.m., I used to obviously run to this area where we had this outlet, and I hired 2 chefs, and then we were making all samosas and this kind of stuff. And the part where I learned a lot was how it shut down. So suddenly the 2 guys, the 2 chefs decided not to come, and then I asked them, so I had to shut it down. And then they came back after 3 weeks and they said, the one guy's wife saw a ghost. And I'm not kidding. This is exactly, one guy's wife saw a ghost, and hence we had to take her for all these, black magic stuff. And so I was like, okay, but I asked the other guy, like, why did you not come, right? Like that guy's wife saw a ghost. He's like, no, I had to go with him to support. And I said, okay, fine. I mean, now it's done. What do we do? And so the guy's like, now pay me for that month, right? Both of them. I was like, why the heck would I pay you? Because if you shut down my business, why would I pay you? So they left. And then 3 days later, 40 people came with hockey sticks to beat me up in front of the hostel. And I was like, I was running out of the back door. So my one-on-one experience with entrepreneurship is very, very rough, and yeah, just put me in the right frame of mind for life. Yeah.
No, I'll touch on that one also. The rough entrepreneur journey. They say what doesn't break you will make you. So I guess the hockey sticks didn't quite get you. So now it's toughened you up. So let's come into the Fabio, before we go into your scaling journey.
Right.
Fabio was something you started, and that's obviously got you noticed, and then you became an Endeavor entrepreneur, I think in 2016 at Palo Alto. So the story about Fabio was that it's an online furniture store. How did you see and how did you find the needs from this in terms of you know, in this journey, you know,
Yeah.
going from trying your food business all the way and looking for, and then working for Lazada for a while. Then
the origin of Fabio was much more, you know, most businesses are built from pain points that you as an entrepreneur identify, right? And honestly, I had only lived in Koskosan all my life, and you know, like I'd never bought a piece of furniture in my life. So it was not so much mine. My co-founder Christian, he was actually, you know, he was living with his girlfriend, and then they were actually moving into a house, and actually, so the pain point was much more Christian's than mine. Me and Christian had been very good friends, and we were obviously in touch. And he was just trying to do his new place that he had moved in, and it was just like such a horrible experience. And the whole pricing was really bad, and how he was treated was bad. So that's sort of where Fabio started. At the same time, while this was going on for them, I had for free charge where I was, I'd just exited, and the you know, founder had given me sort of three options: is one is stay there, but he's leaving. Two is work for any Sequoia portfolio, and third is you want to start anything, I'll invest. I really like you. So it's sort of these two things coming together, and I was in side by side in touch with Christian, and we were like, dude, let's do this. Clearly, there's a gap and a need in the market for affordable, beautifully designed furniture, and that was the origin of Fabio. Yeah.
I see. So in Fabio, I guess what you're trying to address is the pain point of the availability of the pain point was the availability of reasonably priced, good quality furniture in Indonesia. And I think you also scaled that pretty quickly in terms of you know, reaching out to all of Indonesia. You know, and could you just share a little bit about that particular scaling journey, and then I'll come to BukuKas.
Yeah, it's very different, very different journey. When we speak to BukuKas, I'll highlight the differences. But yeah, I mean, at Fabio, you know, at the core, we are a design company, and the whole idea was to work always with the local manufacturers, and you know, like what was happening in Indonesia at that time, and probably still is all the big players from Indonesia was always supplying to the US and like, you know, to West Ham, to Target, to all these guys, but you know, those guys were shifting to Vietnam. So all these merchants were really, you know, out of business, and we were giving them business from the domestic market, which is obviously growing. So we're working. My job was sourcing. So I used to always end up in Jepara, Tuban, Cirebon, like places that Indonesians don't go to. Like 99% Jakarta citizens have never been there. And yeah, so for us it was just, you know, about identifying, like designing. We had a co-founder, Marshall, who's currently the CEO, who's a great designer, one of the best. So we were designing cool stuff, and then we were working with all these guys to get it manufactured. It's a very hard journey to scale, because, you know, when you're shipping 3-seater sofas around, trust me, it's very complicated. You know, all you need is one scratch to something to go wrong, and there is just too many options for that to go wrong. But at the end, when a consumer is paying you $300 for a sofa, he doesn't care about your pain, right? He just wants the best sofa. So it's been challenging, but we learned a lot in the process. It's all about improving your process flows. It's all about improving your ops better, while at the same time not losing your core, which is your design and your pricing.
So if I could touch on that one, okay, your core for Fabio, I mean, it's a furniture, well, manufacturing, and then it's like a factory to home kind of function. And you said just now there were three things. One is the well, understanding the design, the needs of the customer, but two is also understanding the what it takes to move the logistics part of the delivery. Right. Then after that, I suppose is the end part, which is the customer service and follow up. Right. But the scaling of that, I mean, how did you grow from city to city, place to place, location to location? Was it because of online investments? Was it because of you know, word of mouth? How did you do it?
Yeah, no, I mean, so a little less. I mean, in Fabio, it's, you know, it is very targeted, young, up and coming audience, right? Like the millennial generation, newly married, etc. Primarily, we did a lot of online investments in terms of, because they're very easily accessible online, right? This audience is very easily accessible online, and it was very, you know, buying furniture is a moment in life. This is like you get to this moment in life. I just got married, I moved into the house, and I need to buy furniture, right? Like it's very clear. So at that time, people really search, and so there was a lot of organic, but there is also because people used to search, and then they would see our designs versus an IKEA design or somebody else's design. So yeah, it was all online investments. We also did a lot of smart marketing. Like we would give the sofas for, let's say, something like a Kick Candy show, which is a very prime time show, and our brand name would be shown there. So we used to come up with these creative ways, in which we could be on TV, etc., without really paying for it, yeah, so that would get us a lot of visibility and
take whatever freebies you can get.
Yeah, get creative. Yeah.
Be creative in your marketing and your promotions. Okay, now I'm going to turn to the whole reason why we're here today, which is your current venture. So you've moved from food business, being introduced to 40, 50 hockey sticks, moved to Lazada, started a furniture business, and all this is in the last slightly over a decade. Now, as Adlin had mentioned at the start of the conversation, for those of you who've just joined in, what Krishnan has done with his latest venture, which is BukuKas, which is actually started off as a digital bookkeeping, I guess, solution, connecting and allowing SMEs to be digitalized. He's been able to build that business very quickly from 2019, end of 2019, scaled it up, did 2 rounds of fundraising in the last 8 months, I think it was 9 months in that period. So the last fundraise was $50 million US dollars for a Series B. So first, Krishnan, for those to help our audience who's just joined in, what exactly was the pain point that the product BukuKas? What exactly? Some of us may not have had the opportunity to read it.
Yeah.
What exactly is BukuKas? What does it do for the entrepreneur? What was the pain point or business issue that you were solving when you came up with BukuKas?
Yeah, so it's actually very simple. It's people. What I realized in while working with all these small merchants, especially from the interiors and etc., is what I realized is merchants, business owners, they're very good at what they do, which is what they sell, what is the product, how do you source it, all of that. People are generally not that great with numbers, right? Like people don't like numbers too much, right? And that's the boring part, right? So the single pain point BukuKas started solving is know your profits. It's as simple as that. A lot of people think or compare us with QuickBooks or Xero and these guys. And honestly, these are very sophisticated, amazing tools. Our thesis was accounting is for accountants. For a normal guy, you just need to know your numbers, right? That's all, right? Like and the most important numbers, know your profits, right? So that's sort of where we started. And to that we also added know your account receivables, right, and account payables, because that just flows straight into your cash flow at the end of the day. So this is where BukuKas started. Is the whole, there were very sophisticated, amazing tools already out there, but there was less than 0.2% people used it, right? Like less than 0.5% people used it. So then the question I was asking myself is, why are people not using, why are so many more people not using it? And the answer came down to the simplicity in the product and how you can, build something that a normal guy can use, not an accountant.
I think there's a lot to be said about that. And I just want to just come back to that a little bit, maybe later, but keeping your product simple and understanding the pain points of your consumer. I mean, that's probably the start of Blitzscaling. Would you agree? Yeah,
definitely. I mean, that's the start of any startup. I mean, the irrespective of how you scale it, that's always the start. Otherwise, you're gonna white wall. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think one of the things, if I could pick up from that also, is that you made sure that you were dealing with the consumer's issue or your particular consumer, your particular customer. You're keeping him or her, that little entrepreneur, right at the center of your your product offers?
Absolutely. I mean, see, we as entrepreneurs, on one side, I think it's a luxury to be an entrepreneur because it's a great experience. But on the other side, you're always fighting against odds, right? Like your chance of failing is way, 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 way higher than your chance of success. So the only reason for your existence is to solve something fundamental for somebody. Otherwise, there's no reason for you to exist at all in the first place. Yeah.
Okay. Now, in BukuKas specifically, how did you scale from 300,000 users at the start?
Yeah.
At the start,
Yeah.
to I think in within 6 months you went to 6 million,
Yeah.
and then now you have, I don't know how many million. What's the number you can share with us? And I think what you now allow in terms of transactions, or rather the value of the total value of the businesses that are carrying there, it's about 25 billion, as Adeline says. So how did you do it?
Yeah, so it's a particular, I would say, methodology of choice of path that you take, which is we are in a space where you know that market share in some sense matters a lot because it's a software. You get in, you use it, you put your numbers in there, and then you're not going to really jump from it to something else, right? Like it's very unlikely that you jump. So it was very clear in my head the reason, not every business should be blitzscaled. It's you really have to do it if it strategically makes sense for your business. So in our case it was very clear. For us, it was twofold. About two, three angles. I would always start with product. So we are 50% organic business, right? 50% of our audience are organic, 55, 60 or something like that. So there was always massive emphasis, even today. So there's a lot of massive emphasis internally that we need to crack product-driven virality. This is very, very important, right? Like how one user brings another user is very fundamental to this. So I actually went and hired the lead product of Zynga, and gaming is the best place to look at, right? Like nobody from Fruit Ninja comes and knocks on your door and says, will you play my game, right? Like it's fully product-driven virality, right? One user brings more users, right? So we built a lot of these viral loops within the product so that happens. So that was one. Then obviously being very good at digital is very important. Yeah, the third thing important is willing to commit capital. That's if you're going on a blitzscale journey, you can't go half-heartedly. You have to go and go at it. You have to knowingly give up on some things that you would have done better if you were going slower, but you choose to do it. So yeah, for us primarily it was digital, product virality, and obviously hiring some of the best people to make quick decisions. So these were three pillars, I would say.
So I mean that's quite insightful actually, even for me personally, because your product is fully digital, it's fully mobile, it's only on mobile, right? It's not on a desktop or anything like that. No. I mean, at the start of the conversation, you told me you haven't used a laptop in 2 years or something.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So he's fully mobile, folks. He's like, he told me at the start, I said, what, you don't even use a laptop? I'm still using paper. So I'm an old school guy. So you used a gaming kind of approach to blitzscale. I think that's a very interesting point in terms of, just getting the product itself. Meaning to say that I think that's an interesting point. The product drives itself, because you're right. If I look at people using gaming, nobody promotes a game.
This goes on, right? Yeah.
Interesting. But so, did you gamify anything in BukuKas, or was it just simplicity of the approach, or was it because I read somewhere that you had ridden on top of WhatsApp because businesses in Indonesia
exactly. So when you look at gaming, it's not just when we say gamification, everybody immediately thinks, oh, I need to collect points and then these points redeem. Like that's how we imagine gamification, right? But it's not just that actually. So when you look at games, they really focus on creating these viral loops. So for example, So what we identified is, okay, WhatsApp is a fundamental communication layer, right? And that's very clear. So we had a way that one user and another user is already connecting. And now the question is, how do you create reasons for one user to connect to the other? And how do you embed yourself there that that guy gets curious, right? So that's the loop you're focusing on. A simple one I can tell you is, we realized that people love to create formal looking invoices that makes them look professional. So we created this way that every time you enter a transaction with one click, a nice looking invoice is created. It almost looks very professional now, and then suddenly people have a motivation to share it, right? And then when they share that, we put a link of BukuKas there, and then now imagine, we know each other now. I share something to you, you get curious because you trust me, you value me, etc., right? And vice versa, both ways, right? So now that guy gets curious. Of course, in this process, not everybody is a consumer, so you have a lot of is a merchant, so you have a lot of drop off because some of them are personal users, and you're like, okay, maybe not. That guy says, okay, this app is not relevant for me, but it's the loop, right? You're not paying for it, so why do you care, right? So you just create an engine. It goes on and on and on and on and becomes a viral. It's just one example. Another is utang piyutang. So every time you owe me money, I send you a reminder automatically on WhatsApp, and you're like, oh, this system is good, right? And that goes on in loop. So there are many of these little examples. Another important aspect to remember is bringing people in is not enough. What's very important is how your early funnel is optimized. So your early funnel needs to be broken down into, for us, it used to be days, then hours, then minutes. Now even we look at like what happens in the first 5 seconds, what happens, and you really want to create customer journeys that are really, there is an aha moment in each of these journey, and then you're optimizing for how fast you get the user to the aha moment, right? And depending on which journey he's taking. So it's a combined effort. It's not, yeah. So games are very sophisticated. When we think of gamification, we always think about these coins that we collect, but that's just one part of gamification. Yeah.
That's interesting. I like it. I like how you describe the aha moment, because that's exactly how I describe things. I didn't go to business school, so I picked things up along the way.
Yeah.
And one of the things that happens a lot of times, and I find that the time is getting shorter and shorter and shorter. People's attention span, people's willingness to actually listen to something, right? So back in the day, you would actually give. I mean, when I deal with startups, for example, and in what I do, I literally tell the founder, I say, you have 5 minutes. And the first 30 seconds is how you impress me.
Yeah.
If you don't impress me in that 30 seconds or 45 seconds or 1 minute maybe, and I switch off.
Yeah.
And I'm older, so I have maybe a bit more patience. But if you look at kids today, in this gamification world, it's 5 seconds. I mean, that's how tough it is now.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Interesting. So you got a product that is simple enough to use for people who are, I would say, of all levels of education. You kept it basic, knowing your account receivables, knowing your profit numbers, because at the end of the day, people go into business not to be philanthropists, they go into business to make money, right? And then you use that application layer of an existing, well-adopted and well-used platform called WhatsApp, and you rode on that to then start the viral loop going in your blitzscaling journey. Now, that is, I think, very innovative use of existing technology where you're riding on on WhatsApp to deliver this. Now, does that in any way impact things like, okay, I would be not doing my job if I didn't ask you about did things like customer acquisition cost, total lifetime value, did all those matrices matter to you at that time when you were doing
Absolutely. No, to me, I mean, it always matters. There is a number. see, like when you start off on this model, there is no monetization. Everybody asks all the question all the time, right? As an entrepreneur, that chip on your shoulder is hanging in there. So, and for yourself, and not even for others. And like, by the way, we now monetize really, really well. So at the end, that chip is off the shoulder. But yeah. So what? At the end of the day, what? In my head, there's always a map that I am willing to pay so much because I know this is what I can get out of the user, right? Even though that's not proven at that point of time. But I knew that if I pay more than this number, it doesn't make sense. Then it'll be very hard to break even on that merchant and actually make money on that merchant. So yeah, it always mattered. I had a number in my mind, a range in my mind, which I thought was reasonable.
Okay, can I just maybe bring you back a little bit in terms of the business model for BukuKas? Is it a free to use? Is it a freemium model? Did you add on products onto it as you went along?
Yeah, so it's freemium. Yeah, it's
freemium, right?
product.
So,
yeah.
So you started off with a base offering, get people involved, get people in a viral loop, get people using over what they already use for free, which is WhatsApp, and then you build on top of it.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, maybe you might be acquired by WhatsApp at some point.
I don't think so. Yeah.
We're not going there. We're not going there. So in terms of the key matrices, if there were 3 key matrices that you would look at in terms of your journey on Blitzscaling,
Yeah.
what would that be in terms of building the business? And we'll come to the financials after this.
Yeah. So you're talking about early, right? Because key metrics keep evolving, right? Like this year was very different priority metrics for us compared to last year. So these things keep evolving, and we decided at the board level what's the right things to do. In the early days, it was all about product market fit. So retention, product market fit, put simply, is your x-axis is time, y-axis is your number of users. And that curve has to flatten, right? It'll drop significantly in the first few weeks, few months, and then it has to flatten. When it flattens towards x-axis, then your product market fit. So it was all about retention. The next key metric was engagement. How much time, how many frequency of usage, how often do they use it, how much time do they spend on the app. That was the second one. And the third was the cost to acquire a merchant, right? Like, so these 3 were the top 3 merchants for us. Top 3 matrices we looked at.
No, thank you. I think that's very, very succinctly put. And that's actually back to basics in business, isn't it? I mean, and product market fit. If you don't have a product that people want, there's no frequency of usage, because then you see whether people are really using it or whether you are, in your own little bubble thinking that it's a good product using. Yeah. And then the cost of acquisition. So all 3 very, very key items. You made an acquisition of this company, Wang. I forgot the name now. Yeah. So why was that? Because I thought you already had that feature in BukuKas. So was it something that you bought into to enhance?
Purely for user base, to be honest. The app was not even. It is actually not we had a way more superior app, but Chatudan had been around by a great entrepreneur. He actually runs 30 apps, so it's like a dev house, and he is a super great entrepreneur. They were running around. Yeah, I mean, they just launched it and put it out there for people to use, and they were monetizing via ads. And it's been around for 5 years. They never spent $1 on marketing, and they had 300,000-400,000 active users, just organically, right? Like just there. And every time how we've learned about it is, when you look at all public data or when you search for this category, they always show up first because they've been around for so long. They're SEO'd so well, right? Or ASO'd so well. So at some point I was like, well, I mean, we should just get them and make that ours. So that's how that happens. It was a very tactical move to get that user base.
So that's interesting. And you did that within 9 months of starting the business or something like that.
Yeah. No, it was yeah.
So okay, let's come now to the team. Blitzscaling, obviously, I mean, you're a great entrepreneur, but blitzscaling is not done alone. How did you get people to come with you? Was it because you offered them money, you got good fundraising, or did you do it because they believed in you and you were one of those rah type CEOs or founders? How did you get people to join you? And I'll keep coming back between funding and people.
Yeah. So honestly, I always tell this, I'm actually one of the least talented people you'll meet. Other than I have one talent, which is I can put good people. I can find good people and put them together in a room and make it exciting, right? So if you ask me to do something, I might not be the best person, but I can do this part, which is finding those people to do it. So honestly, most people I've always worked with, there are folks. Like the first guy we got on board. So my co-founder was my boss at Lazada. I was his intern. We've been friends since then. So that was the first guy. The first engineer from my college. So I caught up with her and told her, "Hey, I'm going to do this. Can you do it with me?" Also one of the first few people are also my college mates. So people in your journey, you go through a lot of people, right? And you know what the simple reality of the world is, people want to work with exciting people and on exciting projects, so you just need to make sure that the risk reward is good enough for people. Like you can't expect somebody to drop all the ball and walk away without a reward ratio. But many times, what I realize, people don't even know the reward math, right? Like at the end of the day, if you're good enough, if they know they can trust you, then they follow, right? And they know you're not going to screw them over, and they know you're going to reward them, they follow. So honestly, my journey has been full of such people, even at Fabio, even now. And yeah, that's how I got started.
I think trust is key in any business.
It's your only currency. Yeah.
Only currency. When you don't have money and you just have an idea and you have a belief that you can change the world, trust is the only currency. So now the money shot, the money talk. You raised 10 million in Series A in early, I think late 2020, late 20, and then you raised again 50 million in a Series B, US dollars, mind you, for all the Malaysians here. Series B just in July, I think June, July this year. So, I mean, what were the things you were looking at? I mean, was it because you wanted to scale? Because for every fundraise, obviously there's dilution. So how did you?
So before this 10 million, so the exact timing of these are announcements, right? But the exact timing of these are, we had closed the 9 million in July, which was the pre-Series A. Then we had closed, we had agreed in September, we had agreed the 10 million. And then in Jan, we had agreed Feb, we had agreed the 50 actually. So that's the actual timing of where these had happened. And the reason I mentioned that is because when we did the agreement in Jan, we still had half of the 9 million left. So we hadn't touched the 10 million and this 50. So honestly, it was obviously, it was obviously not driven by I need money right now, not at all. But the reality is, I'm an entrepreneur. I've had this conversation with the founder of Freecharge, who's advised me the same. Like, to me, honestly, personally, I don't think anything will be different if I make $100 million or 120 million or 500 or 600. Like, it's all the same. It's all meaningless. I still drive an Innova car. I'm super happy with it, and I don't see myself ever buying a Mercedes. So that's all insignificant. So I believe in getting good people into the journey and maximizing your chances of success. Right? That's, as an entrepreneur, that's what you optimize for. You don't optimize for how much you own of the company. This is my personal take. I totally respect others too. I'm just sharing mine. So yeah, dilution was less of a concern for me. When I meet great people who want to be a part of the journey, and obviously the value is not bad, right? I mean, we're obviously not talking about raising 50 at 50 million valuation, right? We're talking about something else. So I thought, if I can maximize my chance of success with other great people in it, I went in that direction.
Right. So it was about building the business, building the product, making an impact rather than calculating how much would you have at the end of the day after several rounds of fundraising and dilution, and obviously, not having this one. So I'm just I'm aware of the time, and I'm sure there are a lot of people who wanna ask questions. Maybe one more from me, right? Before I open it to the floor for everybody else to jump on and say hello and then ask you questions. And again, folks, Krishnan has a hard stop at 10 Kuala Lumpur time, so let's try and respect that. So one of the things I have to ask in terms of this one, did talking to the right VCs make a difference in your fundraising journey? Because obviously you said, money was important because you wanted to scale the business, but less of dilution. So talking to the right VCs, right?
Absolutely. So I have a close circle, which is very close to me. One is the founder of Free Charge. I told you, I have a close. I think every entrepreneur should have a close circle of people who you can trust and are knowledgeable, right? Like very smart. Mostly there are other fellow entrepreneurs, angels, etc. And so talking to these guys and then talking to folks like Sequoia, etc., made a huge difference, because at the end you need to align yourself, your goals, your objectives with the VC who also thinks like that. So in our case, it is go big and have a large impact, right? Like this is very clear. There is no better fund than Sequoia Capital in Southeast Asia for early stage than that, right? So it was a match, boom, right? Like, okay, let's do this, right? So and obviously you need to have a great team to do that. So I think the VC matters a lot. If you want to build peacefully, calmly, and this, find people who also respect that. Like, different journeys, different people. You don't get stuck with the wrong people. Yeah.
No, I think that's very good advice. Find a VC that actually aligns with your DNA and the DNA you want to build for your business, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So now, folks, we have quite a few people in the conversation right now. Floor is open. You have any questions? Fira, is someone moderating this, or do I see it through the channel?
You can see it through the Zoom chat. So I think we have one here from Wei Jian Lin.
Yes. Okay, Wei Jian. Yes, Wei Jian. There's Wei Jian on the call. Actually, Krishnan, just to share with you, I'm not sure whether you can see the screen, the same screen that I'm seeing, but Suthan seems to like this new meaning that you're bringing to hockey stick. The startup, which I think is interesting. I'll use that. But okay, Krishnan, Wei Jian, I know you touched on this a little. Wei Jian asked a specific question. Your tech team, because you had a tech team that's both in Indonesia and also in Bangalore, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And
it's fully India, actually. Fully India, yeah. So I've struggled to build a good tech team in Indonesia in my last venture, etc. It's very hard to scale, and we know we're a pure product business, right? So you need a lot of engineers. So this is, I meant to clear. I started in Indonesia. Now we are opening in Sri Lanka, Vietnam, everywhere. But yeah, we started with Indonesia because India, that's the market I knew, right? And the first hire I made was actually an engineer. So yeah, that's. Yeah.
So you hired engineers from the get-go. I mean, you're not an engineer yourself, are you?
No.
You are. Or you were.
No, I'm not at all.
Not in school. Yes, you were doing chemistry.
Yeah.
So you built your tech team around a core engineering competency, and everyone's in India right now. But you say you're building now in various areas.
Other markets.
Okay, in the different markets. And I suppose that's also towards ensuring that your engineers get to build something that allows you to meet that product market fit objective.
Exactly.
Okay. Now there's a question from Fong Mei Hong, which is from Seedcom Vietnam. And the question is, what makes your product different compared to the other options available in the market? Ooh, that's a tough one. What makes a lot of you?
It's not that tough, because I always say this. I say this to the team. I say this to the thing. To investors ask me the same question. The answer is actually quite simple. First of all, we're very missionary compared to mercenary, so that shows in the product. But more importantly, at a team level, we're very, very clear that we are not focused on other people. We are focused on only one person, that's the merchant, right? And we keep on innovating and we keep on thinking. like I'm happy to answer this question to most people, but the short answer is we don't care. We focus on the merchant and we keep building, and we do. It's a different question if you're 5 years into the journey and I have 50% market share, somebody has 60 or 40, and then it's a very different question. Today it's early stage. Why are you even bothered about competition, right? Just build for the right reasons. Yeah.
Just build on your mission, focus on your mission, and continue building. Now, a follow-on from that question would be that mission. How did you get your first 100 customers? Wei Jian was asking a follow-up. Now I'll come to Gokula.
I mean, not 100 actually. My first, I spoke literally to 1,024 merchants face to face, and then I went back to those 1,000 people and asked them to use the app one by one. So it was, you just go on the street and talk to people. Yeah.
Okay. So it's not Wei Jian is not first 100, it's the first 1,000. That's how he started.
Yeah.
Okay. Gokula has a question here, and he said, did not having a monetization plan at the start worry you about building your business? I mean, burn rate versus revenue, and the fact that VCs are always pressuring you to say, okay, what's your monetization strategy, and monetizing versus.
So I mean, just a word of caution in some sense. Sometimes monetizing too early can be very bad for your business, right? So it's a fine line. Like I understand. A lot of people try to put this pressure on you, but as an entrepreneur, you need to have a plan, right? And you need to get other people aligned to that plan. And it was very clear for us that monetizing that early is a big mistake. And we didn't want to do that. And it's clear. It's very clear to us that this year, second half, we have to monetize and we're doing it beautifully well, right? So you want to have a plan and you want to work towards that. Yes, at the end, I've asked the same question to other founders. Like, no monetization for 3 years, it doesn't your heart beat really hard? Honestly, yeah, it does beat hard, but you have to do what you believe is the right thing, and yeah. So I agree, it's not easy. It scares you. It definitely scares me. At Fabio, we monetize from day one, right? So it really depends on the nature of your business, and yeah, we felt this was the right thing, and thankfully, it's playing out right. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. I mean, I suppose monetizing versus scaling is always also a function of the product that you're putting out, the business that you're running.
The good thing is we always knew that we could monetize on credit, and it was an obvious extension. So we knew where the monetization would come from, and yeah. So now we just started rapidly monetizing there, and it's growing very, very fast.
So in a way, Fabio, you mentioned was monetization from day one because you're not going to lose money selling a furniture.
Yeah, exactly.
For BukuKas, you could actually start on the scaling first, prioritizing getting people adopting it, and then after that, charging them later.
It's very dependent on businesses.
Yeah. So you see, same entrepreneur, two different business approaches, two different styles, two different ways of scaling because of the focus on the business. And the focus on the business is being product market fit again, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And okay, so okay, we have another question here. We talked about you hiring your first cohort of engineers, first team. I mean, in the early stage, what is key? Because did you go in thinking you were going to blitz scale? So that does it. I mean, are you that structured that you say, all right, I'm going to hire my first 10 hires to be engineers, my next 10 hires to be accountants or marketing?
No. Honestly, all of that happens organically, right? You see that you need more media, you focus there. But I knew that my first few hires were engineer, BI, business intelligence, right? Like data guy, right? And so that, and the third was research, customer research. So these were the first 3 hires basically, because that was very clear in my head as these are the 3 pillars of us cracking this. Because of my limited bahasa, I knew that I needed somebody who can help me with the research a lot. So that was that. From there, honestly, I mean, we were just adding people on the go, right? Saying, okay, we need more engineers. It's the hardest thing in the world to add engineers. I mean, it's even now we struggle like crazy. We more than happily pay way more than market, and still we struggle. So it's very hard to find good engineers. I've been very fortunate to have good friends who are engineers. So of course they step in and they have, helped me out in the early days. So you have to, my engineering in the early days was led by a friend of mine who was running a dev house of his own, and so there are many, how do you say, the Batmans behind this journey. They stay in the dark, but they're the real heroes, and not many people talk about it. Yeah.
I'll use that. The many Batmans in the journey. Okay, that's interesting. Who owns them? DC Comics, right? Anyway, no, I think that's interesting, because I think one of the things I want to pick up from that issue is you went into a completely foreign market, India. You're from India. You went into Indonesia, and one of the first things you did was business intel and customer research people, because you didn't speak Bahasa. That didn't stop you. Didn't just stop you crossing the seas, coming across and building a business in another country. That's fantastic. But again, back to knowing the product, knowing the people you're trying to sell it to, and then getting to deliver what they want, right? So, okay. So now we have another one here from Teng, who's asking, when you look at your app designs, that this is more of a UI UX question, I guess. When do you decide to put more stuff in, take stuff out? I mean, how often do you do this in terms of iterating or reiterating your app designs and your functionalities?
Honestly, every sprint, right? Every sprint, a sprint for us is 2 weeks. We do every 2 weeks. But of course, every 2 weeks, the app doesn't look completely different, right? Most of it is micro funnel optimizations. So you're really moving smaller stuff. You're really looking through data, but it's almost like a manufacturing plant, right? You're always optimizing every little process. You're always oiling the machine, and you're really looking at every nut and bolt every single day. So it's an app, but the only difference is you're doing it digitally, and you're looking at data points, and then you're just optimizing it. So yeah, many analogies. A car is like a Formula, an app is like a Formula One car. If you want, like, you're really looking through data, how it's doing, and then you're just optimizing regularly. So every 2 weeks.
So you actually have a data team now that looks at what is sticking, what's not sticking, what's working, what's not
also
working.
Product managers, right? You have to hire great product managers. That's very important. Yeah.
And so the team looks at back again to the first the origins of what you started out with, which is getting the right product market fit, and that can shift as people consume your product as you go along, right? And the frequency of usage, those matrices you mentioned earlier, frequency of usage, and also the optimization of cost of acquiring the merchant, and then keeping them the value that they want. Okay. Now there's okay. Now this one is the another money shot question. It's like, what are your plans for internalization, internationalization? There's BukuKas Indonesia now. So when are you hitting the shores of? Okay, people upset the Malaysians, but what about Malaysia, Vietnam, Thailand, all that?
Yeah, it's not a topic we can discuss publicly, but
okay.
So there's always interesting things.
Okay, entrepreneur is raising the fifth. Okay, no, not an issue. I think it's helpful, but look, guys, those of you listening and watching, if he scaled this fast, watch out, coming. That's what I can say. Now, okay. So, Krishnan, I think we have another 5 minutes or so of questions.
I can go 2-3 minutes extra, not a problem. Yeah, feel free.
Okay. I thank you for that, and thank you for sharing your journey and sharing your experience. So far, I think one of the other questions I had. I mean, COVID, right? Oops, Krishnan, we've just lost. Okay. COVID, topical, top of everyone's mind right now. Has COVID positively impacted you, negatively impacted you? How did that experience change you?
Yeah. I'm talking about my merchants. I think COVID also affected all of us in every way, but here I'll talk about my merchants. Obviously, there were some sectors of merchants were very positively affected. Like, for us, I think COVID was a beautiful tailwind as a business because it just accelerated digitization, people wanting to sell online, all of that kind of stuff, right? So from that sense, it made our life a bit easier for sure, no doubt about that. But that's the case with everybody digital today, right? So that was very good. The sad part was, yeah, you really see some businesses disappear. You see people really struggling. You can really see their profits dwindling. Some specific cases, and yeah, I mean it's sad. But you know what I love about the middle class, like the SME class, is that they're the most resilient people in the whole world, and you know, like yeah, I mean they always bounce back, and that's you know inspiring to see as well. But yeah, it has affected a bunch of people, especially in the early lockdowns and all. Like you really, I actually put my phone number on the app, and people could just reach out directly because I couldn't meet people directly, and I got a lot of messages. Majority of them were, can I have a loan? Which is how we ended up in the credit business in the end. But definitely a lot of sad stories for sure. Yeah, we tried our best to help.
Yeah, and I think again, being back to basics, you focused on your customer, you focused on the people you wanted to serve, right?
Yeah.
That's what led you to the journey of now introducing microloans to assist those SMEs. I think that's fantastic because you're constantly listening to the people you want to serve.
Yeah.
You know, not just giving them a product that they want, but also listening to the other needs, including now giving them products that they didn't know they needed until the pandemic hit, and therefore they needed loans for working capital, for example.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think there's a lot to learn there. Now, so keep listening is one of those things I would say, and I think Krishnan's doing that. You know, he's listening and listening and listening to his customers, to his merchants. Yes, his merchants. That's right. Thank you for the word. So, and I think one of the key points that I liked about what you said was this being missionary rather than mercenary. You know, you have a mission, you focus, and I think there's a lot to be said about having a little bit of empathy. I also think in running your business, right? I mean, because the merchants are there, they help you, but you then help them as well. So you build an ecosystem, right? Now, last question. Again, I'm really trying to keep the time, and I appreciate you giving one or two more minutes. But you know, back to people. Okay, we've talked about the mission, we've talked about the scaling, we've talked about what do you call this? Servicing the merchants. Back about how do you ensure? I mean, as you build a massive team, building a massive business, scaling very fast, how do you keep people together with the same culture, with the same cohesion at the start? I mean, managing 10 people at the start is very different to like 150 people by 9 months later.
Actually, you know, we went from 60 people to 250 people, almost 300 people now, and it's really scaled very fast. This is in 8 months, right? Like so honestly, it is. I don't have a magic formula for this. I'm struggling and learning how to do it. We keep trying. Okay, Thursday no meetings. There's that, etc. At the end of the day, what I do is a good job of filtering who comes into the funnel, which is we make sure that people are mission driven and they're coming into this because they're passionate about what we're doing and they want to learn faster. So that's a good filter. But then beyond that, even we are learning how to adjust to this purely digital world. You know, relationships feel transactional, not emotional anymore. Yeah, we hope to now start offices again, start meeting again once in a while. The whole India team is going on a trip to Goa, you know, and stuff like that. But yeah, otherwise it's about we only attract people who know they want to upgrade to the next level in life in terms of who they are, how they operate. So that keeps people going because it's a lot of exciting work. Yeah.
Okay. Motivating people, very important. And maybe last thoughts, last 30 seconds. What are your thoughts on and the opportunities and the trends? I mean, Southeast Asia, what are the things that, you know?
There's a lot going on. I mean, there's just so much. Actually, you know, if you guys are starting something interesting, do ping me. I do invest. So let me know.
Oh, you invest. Okay.
Happy to do that. Yeah, and guys, give him my email. It's Krishnan at BukuKas.io. But yeah, lot of things. I think we're very early into the digital world. You know, like 2013, Lazada was prehistoric days. Now we have started getting industrialization. You know, like we're not even at modern, like the complete modern world. That's never going to happen 10 years from now. So I think it's the beginning of a lot of great things. Yeah, I mean, I myself have tons of idea, no time. So now I invest in great people so that they can do it. Yeah, many tailwinds that you can catch.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Krishnan. Thank you for sharing. And I think it's been lovely. You were very candid and very casual. And, you know, I personally have found the experience very helpful. Thank you so much. Fira?
No, we gotta take a photo of Krishnan before you go.
Oh,
because
yeah.
we started so excitedly, we forgot to take a photo at the beginning, which is essentially what we do here at Endeavor. So
Yeah.
Fira, let's quickly take a photo before we wrap it up.
Everybody smile.
Yes, second. Okay.
Perfect.
First please.
Great.
Okay. That's great.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Sharil and Krishnan. That was an amazing session. I mean, missionary, you know, versus mercenary, I agree. That's amazing. My favorite line from you was this, right? People want to work with exciting people around exciting projects. That's it. That's
Definitely. Thanks a lot, guys, for having me. This is super good. Thanks a lot, Sharil. That was one of the best chats I've had also. So thank you for making it also very nice. Thank you so much, everyone.
Take care. Thank you, Krishnan. And you have my number anytime.
Yeah, I'll bring you anyway. So, thank you. Have a good day, guys.
Thank you, Krishnan. As we wrap up, Krishnan, you can go because I know you have a meeting. Thanks. Thanks for joining the Blitzscaling session this week. Sharil, thank you so much for your time. Really awesome. People were messaging me saying we should have you do this more. Felt like a radio or TV session, so that's it. We're scripting you to do more sessions. Right. Okay, so I'm just going to wrap up quickly. So for our next Blitzscaling session, which is happening in a couple of weeks, we are coming back to Malaysia, where we will be listening to our Milkman, founder and managing director of Holstein Milk Company, Tuan Ee Loi. So when it comes to moving the needle, there's no one other than, sorry, Fred, I'm just laughing because we are putting so many puns in this. No one other than Holstein Milk Company. In just 7 years, farmer and entrepreneur Loi successfully built and scaled a dairy farm, consequently making the Farm Fresh brand the market leader in all natural and fresh dairy products in Malaysia. So this will be another very interesting session. At this time around, we'll have our Endeavor entrepreneur, CY Han, which is the co-founder and CEO of Juristech, to moderate the session with Loi, who is also, interestingly, an Endeavor entrepreneur. So if you're all interested to join, we will drop a link in the chat for you to register your interest for this session. And before you go, as usual, we'll be triggering you a feedback form to get your thoughts on this session today. And then please put, if you want to have Sharil to do more sessions, we'll be more than happy to bring him back. So Fira will trigger the quick, there you go, survey form. Sharil, you should see the message box. Someone just said your name 4 times. Teng from Care Concierge. That's it, you're doing it again. Okay, I think that covers it, everyone. Again, Sharil, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time today.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to share. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharil. Thank you, Adlin.
Yeah,
Thanks, everyone.
We'll see
Thank
you.
you, guys.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone. Bye-bye.
See you for the next session. Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
You're
Sorry.
staying in. You're staying in for a bit, right?
Well, yeah. If you need me to, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, just maybe 2 minutes. Maran,